Do you ever have those days where you just need to get something off your chest? It's just bugging you, and you just hope that if you just vent it out, you can exercise that demon? That's what I'm going to do about Scream, the true story shock docs. I had a chance to screen it, and there's one thing in particular that I really have to get off my chest. So let's do that. Hello, fellow restless spirits, true crime aficionados, and horror movie lovers. So, Scream comes out on Friday, January 14th, and I'm super excited. I think I'm going to go see it on the first showing that I can find here in Nashville that doesn't seem to be sold out yet. So, fingers crossed. I have a couple of deadlines I'm on, but if I can swing you know, little lunch getaway, I'm going to go see it because I played hooky from my job in 1996 when it came out. It looked really interesting, and I knew Wayne wasn't going to want to go see it, and it was getting kind of good reviews. And I was curious. I was like, this really looks like a good movie. And I loved Wes Craven. Nightmare on Elm Street was one of my favorites. I'm like, oh, he's involved. I want to see. So went to see it. Was like everybody else. Wow, wow, wow. Blown away. Loved it. One of my favorite horror movies of all time, has stayed in the top 10, probably top 5 ever since then. So when I heard that the new Shock Docs was coming out about Scream and it was based on a true story, I was like, how did I never know that it was based on a true story? Like, what's the story? Who's it based on? This is crazy. So I watched the trailer, I guess, that they sent, and I read the description. So I looked into it, and I'd heard of the Gainesville Ripper case, but I didn't know. I was like, why would that? It doesn't match up. It doesn't. How is that? How did that inspire Scream? Like, there's usually some kind of something like, Ed Gein, I forget how to say his name, but who inspired Psycho. There was something there that was sort of familiar that you could see, or, he inspired Silence of the Lambs. There's something there that was, it wasn't a biopic by any means, or a biopic, however you say that word. Some people say biopic, some people say biopic. It wasn't something like that in either of those cases, but there was some glimmer of what Ed Gein did in the killings in both Psycho and Silence of the Lamb. But where was the correlation with Danny Rolling, aka the Gainesville Ripper, not rapist? Well, he did rape people too, but raped and murdered 5 victims. And let me stop right there, because Danny Rolling is getting all of the attention for this, but there were 5 victims who died, actually 8 in total, but we'll stick with the Gainesville Ripper side of things because that's what everybody's saying Scream is based on. And it's really important to always remember the victims involved. We like to glorify the serial killers, but people lost family members, and a lot of these people are still alive and mourning the fact that these folks are no longer with us. So Sonia Larson, Christina Powell, Krista Hoyt, and there's 2 more, Tracy Paulus, and I don't know how to exactly say his last name, Manny Taboda, I'm sorry, I don't want to further offend people. Manny, Taboada. Those were the people who were lost. And I'm really conflicted after watching the shock docs because so much emphasis is placed on Danny when I'm glad that they didn't try to make contact with the victims, because I think that's also disrespectful. But there's I really struggled with this shock doc. But the main thing that I struggled with was they say it's based on a true story, which that part is true. And the Gainesville Ripper ties in, but it's not exactly how you would think. It's not like how Ed Gein with the Psycho stuff was. So I'm going to read an article, part of an article that I found. Okay, so in 1997, the Detroit Free Press reprinted an article that I believe was from the Orange County Register by Barry Coltnow. And this is what happens. And when I read this, if you read my post about this, about was Scream really inspired by a true story, you'll recognize, I shared this in there too, but it definitely, you see where the correlation with Scream came from and how the Danny Rolling murders have nothing to do with Scream. In a sense, they weren't, definitely Scream was not inspired by his activities, but it was inspired by this true story from the screenwriter Kevin Williamson. So this is what Barry Coltnow wrote. A few years ago, struggling writer and actor Kevin Williamson was so desperate for money that he gladly accepted an offer to stay overnight at a friend's house and dog sit for $20. Remember, this is 1997, so $20 could actually get you something. He stayed at the home and everything was going fine until late that night when he discovered that a rear window was wide open. He was sure the window had been closed the last time he checked, and he began to fear that an intruder was in the house. It didn't help that he had just watched a TV special on the gruesome campus murders in Gainesville, Florida. Williamson ran to the kitchen, pulled a butcher knife from a drawer, and began searching for the intruder. But first, he picked up a portable phone and called a college buddy. Slowly walking through the house, checking under beds, in closets, and behind shower curtains, Williamson was nervous enough without having his playful friend trying to scare him half to death on the phone. "Jason's behind that door," the friend would say. "Watch out, he's got a knife." Williamson was terrified, but he admits now that he was starting to enjoy the banter. The two friends discussed horror movies as Williamson searched for the axe murderer in the house. So that sounds a lot more like what Scream was based on, right? So there is the element of the Gainesville Ripper in there, which sort of did help plant the seed, but it had nothing to do with his murder. So that's off my chest. I'm just tired of everybody saying, oh, the Gainesville Ripper inspired the Scream, the movie, or it's based on that, when that's not entirely accurate. So I do feel better. I guess exorcisms are a real thing. Anyways, let me know your thoughts. If you need to vent, that's going to be my question today. Anything you need to get off your chest and vent about, just drop it in there. Get it off your chest. You'll feel a lot better. Until next time, I'll say ciao for now. Oh, but before I'll say, please like, share, subscribe if you want. That helps out. I see some of you have some new followers. Thank you very much. And until next time now, I will bid you adieu and say, until next time, ciao for now.